things that would be a game changer for that was March 2021 was when we got my motorcycle. We actually talked a little bit about that in the intro to Adam, the intro to me video on YouTube, where Matt had to take the very chilly ride from Fenton to Port Huron.
Yeah, that was, we can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So I know you talked a little bit about it in your motovlog, but, and I briefly touched about it in mine, but if we got any new listeners, maybe we can talk a little bit about that, just a brief summary on, how that night went.
All right. So yeah, it was one of those things. I had some ramps in my truck. Didn't realize that they weren't as heavy duty as I thought they were. At this time, I don't remember where I picked them up at, but they work great for my lawnmower. It's a riding lawnmower, but it wasn't quite sturdy enough to be able to hold up my motorcycle. And so I bought the bike, and it was pretty warm outside. It was probably in the mid 50s when we had gotten there, and Matt had taken it for a test drive. But then by the time we left, it had already started to drop into the high 40s, which is fine if you're cruising at 20 miles an hour, but when you're going 70, 75 miles an hour down the highway, it gets really cold.
Especially with just summer gear on. Like, I really didn't start getting into winter gear until this year. So that day, all I took, I had regular tennis shoes that were mesh. I had my leather jacket, which I always rock, but I didn't have anything underneath of it other than a t-shirt. I had jeans on, which I mean is normal, but I have insulated pants too for cold weather. And then I had my summer gloves, not my winter gloves.
Right.
And so it was cold.
But I was warm in my truck.
Yes.
And just so that way people know, you did end up changing. You're not rocking tennis shoes when you ride anymore.
No. I ride with boots now. Yeah, that's a topic for another day. But
right.
I ride with boots now, especially because it's colder out and all that.
From about 45 minutes from Fenton to Port Huron, and we pulled off at a gas station. And do you remember what you said to me?
I said, "What size boots you wear?"
Look, we squared it out. What size shoes do you wear? I don't know. But so we traded shoes, and so you survived the rest of the way home.
Yep, except for that Jesus pothole that it's called the Jesus pothole because I almost met him.
Oh yes, I was waiting, like I was getting ready to slam on the brakes. I saw Matt pop out of the seat on the bike. Mind you, this was pretty late at night. That's why the temperature cooled off as quickly as it did. So it was hard to see. It was something that I probably would have completely missed in the truck, let alone Matt being on the bike.
Yeah.
After we ended up getting the bike home, we stored it at Matt's house because I didn't have a good place in my garage. I actually already had a motorcycle in the garage, it's still in there, but I didn't really have a good spot to put another one. So it stayed at Matt's house for almost 3 months.
Yeah.
It was there for quite a while.
I don't think I ever saw you as much as I did when your bike was held hostage at my house.
Right.
Literally, you were over every day.
Oh, yeah.
I just got to look at her.
Yeah. Between that and when I bought my motorcycle, maybe we'll try to get an overlay or something like that or we'll show a picture or something like that during the video. When I got my motorcycle, it didn't have saddlebags. And that was something that was really important to me. I always carry way more than what I need to on everything that I do. In my truck, I've got about 2 toolboxes. One's just a small little carry case box, and the other one has the majority of my tools. That way I have them at any time. I've got, like a first aid kit in my truck. I've got a survival kit in there. Not that I ever have any concern that I would need it, but it's there just in case. So it's one of those things, like I always overpack, overplan for something like this, and no saddlebags on a motorcycle means I don't have any storage space other than what's on my coat.
I know as a sport bike rider,
you feel my pain.
I have the backpack life. Like all my stuff is in a backpack. I actually want to work on getting some tank bags. They even sell these like sport bike saddlebags. I don't know that I want to like ruin the look. I mean, if anybody has any suggestions on those, drop in the comments. I would love to read about that. But I think I'm gonna find some saddlebags for at least for long trips.
You gonna go with ammo crates?
I don't think I'm gonna go that redneck.
You don't want to rock steel ammo crates?
If I had a cruiser, for sure.
Right. If anybody has those, contact us. I think they're so sick looking, especially if you get them like color matched with the bike or something like that. So yeah, send us a message or something like that.
So I ride a 2005 Suzuki Katana 600, which if you watch my moto vlog or check out any of our socials, you'll realize like I'm the one that rides the sport bike, and Adam's the one that rides the Shadow. Yep,
and I've got a 2006 Honda Shadow 750 Aero, and it's one of those things. It was a great starter bike. At this point now I'm kind of getting into the I want something bigger phase, which it's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because I feel confident in being able to handle the bike that I have. The bad part is I've only been riding for one season and I already want to upgrade.
Yeah, so I started out with the Ninja 250. It was a 2008 Ninja 250. My wife rides it now. It was a great bike, but I could definitely tell like once I reached a certain level, I was like, man, I want to go faster. Like this thing's not very fast, especially on the highway, because our goal now is like more trips. And a lot of it is highway, especially because we go to northern Michigan.
Yeah, which means I-75, which means I-75 Speedway, which means just rip the throttle and good luck.
Yeah.
But yeah, and on my motorcycle, it's not that it's too slow. The biggest thing that I have an issue with is the 7-second 0 to 60 acceleration. That is a super long time when you're trying to get on the highway or something like that. I know there's a lot of people out there saying 7 seconds should be more than adequate, but some of these very short on-ramps, you don't have enough time to be able to get up to speed while taking a curve, being able to get onto the highway. That's my biggest concern about it. Cruising around town, that thing, it's a blast to ride. But to be able to take it on longer trips, it just doesn't seem like it's going to be as feasible. But I still love it. I love the sound of it. We'll have to figure out some time when it's a little bit warmer, and we'll do some videos with our bikes. You know, maybe we'll
pull
it up.
I would love to do some podcasts with the bikes.
Yeah.
They're all tucked in for the night, but
yes.
So so when I was riding my 250 as a beginner, like I thought it was great. I mean, you got to bang gears quickly. I mean, you got to ride out every gear except first gear. That gear is useless, but we all know that. That's everybody. But anyways, being able to ride that bike. A lot of people don't know that it was a 250 unless you're a biker. But the good part about it is it's very nimble. So like cruiser or sport bikes are more worried about curves and stuff like that. I mean, cruisers you ride curves too, but that bike is very nimble. So like in and out of curves was easy. But then like when I went to the Katana was just a different beast. It's a heavy bike, not compared to your guys' cruisers, but I think it's sitting in around 500 pounds.
Okay.
Wet. But anyway, that bike, there's some other stories too about that, like how I got that bike. So I know we kind of talked about how you got yours. We should talk about the 82.
Yeah, we can talk about that a little bit. So I had purchased a bike. It actually came from Matt's father-in-law. He had it tucked off in a corner in one of his garages. And that was, what, 3 or 4 bikes ago for him now?
Yeah, because he had that one, and then he got a Suzuki...
Was it the Velusa?
Yeah, it was the Suzuki Velusa.
So it was the one right before the Velusa?
So it was the Velusa and then the Boulevard. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because he went from that 750, the 82 750, to the Velusa, which was an 800.
Yeah.
And then to the 1500 C90.
Okay.
The Boulevard.
Yeah. So it was one of those things. He hadn't ridden it in quite a while. Actually, some of your in-laws, your brother-in-laws, had rode it for a little while to kind of learn, from what I understand.
Yep. Both my brother-in-laws learned how to ride on that bike.
But it's one of those things that needs a little bit of TLC, and as much as I like to kid myself, I don't have as much time as I think I do. So to be able to put in the effort and the care to really get this bike going, it just hasn't happened. So it was one of those things. I'm still planning on working on it. I actually have a carburetor rebuild kit. That's one of the biggest things that's slowing me down right now is the carburetors just need to be completely gone through and rebuilt more or less from the ground up.
Well, maybe we can rebuild the carbs on a podcast.
That'd be kind of fun. Buckle up, it's going to be about 4 hours.
It's going to be a long podcast for that one.
Probably going to wait till it's a little bit warmer outside so that way we can feel our fingers.
I know the editor though.
Yeah.
Now for a kind of a timeline, I had gotten the Katana around the same time, or shortly after you got the
82, the
82,
750, yeah.
And they were kind of supposed to be built the same time.
Right.
Mine took 2 years to build.
Yep.
Yours is a build-in process.
Yeah.
Which I think would be fun to be able to do some build videos, do a build series. I don't know if you guys would be interested in seeing a build series from, a couple amateurs trying to figure it out. But I've got one rebuild bike under my belt, so
right.
I think I did something right.
Yeah.
Didn't fall apart yet.
Right. But yeah, that would definitely be a lot of fun. It probably wouldn't necessarily be a podcast. That would be more of a vlog or something like that.
Yeah, probably just a regular video or something.
Yeah. But yeah, if that's something you guys be interested in, let us know. You guys feel overwhelmed with all the things we've been asking you to do yet?
We definitely want engagement, though. We want to be able to hear from you guys. Some of our ideas is to get, traditional podcast style, get guests on our podcast, and different people from different points of views. So I want to ask some friends of mine that aren't into motorcycles. Hey, you want to be on our podcast? And they have different backgrounds. Good part about you and I is we grew up together.
Yeah.
I mean, we have different styles of the same thing.
Right. Yeah. It's similar enough. It's kind of like the difference between chocolate and vanilla ice cream. It's still ice cream. It's just a slightly different flavor.
Yeah, we kind of have that. What's your dream bike?
It's one of those things. I guess I'm kind of a Honda fanboy. I really, really like the look of the late 90s, early 2000s Honda Valkyries. They're probably not going to be a feasible option for me just because of some of the things that they're a little harder to come by, especially because I like the Interstate model more specifically. It had the saddlebags already on it, and it had a batwing fairing on the front as well. But I really think one of my next upgrades, I actually want to get a Honda Goldwing. Probably something early 2000s up to maybe about 2010. And that's kind of my goal. I love the sound of the V-twin, but it's really hard to beat the acceleration and the speed with still being a cruiser style bike. I know it's more of a touring bike, but it still has that same seated position or a similar seated position as a cruiser. So the Goldwing is kind of the option that I'm looking at. So what about you? What's your dream bike?
So my dream bike, I don't know. I mean, there's so many. I love.
And they all look the same, right, cruiser guys?
I love sport bikes though. I want a cruiser one day. I love the Shadow 750. When I rode that bike, it was a fun bike. We'll get to that topic here in a few minutes. But no, my dream bike I think would be probably an H2. H2s are bonkers fast, and that supercharger chirp, just something else.
Right. So I had talked about my dream bike and then kind of an intermediate bike, kind of a
mid-tier bike. My next, I would love to get a ZX10. I think that's an achievable, obviously down the road, but I think it's an achievable dream bike.
Yeah.
As a stepping stone, an H2, you're talking about a $25,000 bike or more. Where a ZX10 you can get for somewhere for $10K. If I get an older one, I can get one for $8K.
Yeah. So what about sub-liter bikes? think like a CBR might be something halfway
Yeah,
decent?
like probably a CBR 600
Yeah.
RR. That might be something down the road. Yeah, that would be amazing. So now we're talking about dream bikes. Have you rode any other bikes?
Well, I did ride your Ninja, your wife's Ninja now, but I did ride that. You were actually teaching me how to ride at that point. And then I did ride your Katana. But other than that, I don't think so. I can't remember any other bikes that I've ridden.
So what was it like because obviously you've rode both, and I mean I'll share my experience too, but you've rode both a sport bike and your cruiser. Now, what were the biggest differences that you noticed riding the Shadow and we'll say the Katana, because I mean the Ninja.
It's been so long since I've ridden the Ninja. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things for me is sitting on that Shadow. It's one of those things, I literally plop my butt in the seat and I reach my hands out and I can essentially just be limp-wristed like this as long as I've got enough to be able to pull that throttle. On the Katana, on the other hand, though, it does feel like I have to kind of sit, I have to sit forward a little bit more of an aggressive stance. And I know even those, with it being a sport touring, it's not as aggressive as, well, even the Ninja has a slightly more aggressive seating position than the Katana.
Well, the Katana has that saddle seat almost.
Yeah. But I did notice, I think we had went maybe about 20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah.
We had traded bikes on one of the rides that we did. And after that 20 minutes, I could feel it in my thumb and my wrist. I'm sure if I went through and regularly rode a sport bike, I would get used to it. But it was one of those things, not ever doing it for that long, it just instantly was noticeable. But acceleration was a huge difference between the Katana and the Shadow 750. One of the big things, any of you who have the Honda Shadows, you obviously know that there's some that are chain driven and some that are shaft driven. The chain driven ones, you can obviously make a difference for your acceleration and your top speed and stuff like that. With my shaft driven, I'm stuck. So I complain about the shaft drive, or I complain about the acceleration only because there's nothing I can do about it. So if you guys like this, hit the like button. We're probably only going to do this podcast on YouTube for a while. We may expand later, but just to kind of get a feel for how this is going to work for Matt and I, we're going to kind of stick to YouTube for right now.
The kind of the video format too is good for us too. But we're thinking we're going to try to drop a podcast once a week, at least until the riding season gets good.
Yeah.
Then we're able to actually do some more vlogs again.
Right.
Until then, stay tuned. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on YouTube. Check out some of our other videos. Check out some of those moto vlogs that we posted. I got some really cool Mackinac Island Bridge videos that I posted. And then obviously check our TikTok. We don't post too much on TikTok, but hey, it's got a lot of content from this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it grows, maybe we'll start putting some more stuff on there. But for right now, it just seems like we're going to kind of focus on Instagram and YouTube. That's kind of be our main focus.
Yep. So maybe next week we'll bring on a guest or maybe talk about some gear. Drop in the comments what you want to talk about. If you want to be a guest on our podcast, drop in the comments. I would love to kind of phone in with some of our subscribers. I mean, I think it would be amazing to talk to some of you guys and see what what your take on motorcycles are. Obviously, if you're subscribed to us, you enjoy some form of motorcycles. So
it's either that or the luscious beards.
Yeah,
one way or
it's
another.
definitely the beard game. But until then, I'll see you when we see you.